Tutankhamen's mask is an icon. And I think part of it is because it is made of solid gold, and a lot of people get wowed by that.
For more than 3,000 years, one of the most recognizable faces in human history has been hiding a secret. Not a harmless error, not a misunderstanding, a carefully planned deception sealed beneath 22 pounds of solid gold. And we only uncovered it now, because a team of physicists aimed a quantum imaging scanner at King Tut's death mask and discovered something that should not be there. A name, not scratched on the surface, not visible to the eye, but buried beneath the gold, deliberately erased. And it doesn't belong to a boy king. It belongs to a queen, one who vanished from history. Here's where things get uncomfortable. What you're about to hear isn't in the textbooks yet. These findings are still being checked, argued over, and quietly challenged behind closed doors by people whose reputations and careers depend on the old story staying intact. But the data exists. And once you see it, you can't ignore it. The mask the world adores, the image printed on posters, books, and t-shirts, was never made for Tutankhamun. It was taken from another tomb, reused, reclaimed, stolen. The clues were always there. We just didn't have the technology to see them. Until now. This isn't just an artifact, it's the perfect illusion. An icon that fooled the world for millennia. November 1922. In the Valley of the Kings, British archaeologist Howard Carter carefully cuts a small opening into a sealed chamber that hasn't been touched in thousands of years. He lifts a candle and peers inside. His hands are trembling. Someone asks if he can see anything. After a long pause, he whispers the words that would echo through history. Yes, wonderful things. Inside lay a sight beyond imagination. The middle coffin was unlike the others, encased in glass, almost heavenly, while the outer two gleamed with solid gold. The chamber overflowed with unimaginable wealth. Golden chariots, jewel-covered thrones, painted statues frozen mid-movement as if time itself had stopped. But deep within 3 nested coffins rested the single object that would mesmerize the world forever, the golden death mask. Pause for a moment and consider this. It weighs over 22 pounds of solid gold, heavier than a bowling ball, inlaid with lapis lazuli and turquoise. Its eyes, crafted from obsidian and quartz, seem almost alive, following you no matter where you stand. To the ancient Egyptians, gold wasn't just precious. It was believed to be the literal flesh of the gods. This mask wasn't decoration. It was sacred technology. Its purpose was to help the pharaoh's soul recognize its own body in the afterlife. Without it, the spirit would wander forever, lost between worlds. On the back, priests carved a powerful spell from the Book of the Dead, meant to protect the king on his journey into darkness. For over a century, the world accepted this mask as the ultimate achievement of ancient Egypt. Perfect, flawless, unquestionably made for the boy king Tutankhamun, who died at just 19 years old. But almost immediately, experts began noticing details that didn't make sense. And here's the unsettling part. The clues were never hidden. They were right in front of us the entire time. We just chose not to see them, because if those clues were real, then everything we believed about this mask was wrong. And it all leads to what researchers now call the 70-day impossibility. Here's where the story stops making sense. King Tut didn't die after a long illness or a slow decline. He died suddenly, most likely from an infection after a severe leg injury. And in ancient Egypt, religious law was absolute. Once a pharaoh died, the clock started. Exactly 70 days, not 69, not 71, 70 days to prepare a king for eternity. Now think about what that really means. 70 days to carve an entire royal tomb out of solid limestone. 70 days to construct 3 elaborate coffins, each fitting perfectly inside the next, like Russian dolls. 70 days to gather thousands of burial objects worthy of a god king. And 70 days to create a 22-pound solid gold death mask covered in microscopic details, precious stone inlays and hand-carved hieroglyphic spells, all from scratch. For a death no one saw coming. And yet, the tomb itself tells a very different story. It feels rushed. It's small, shockingly small compared to the grand tombs of other pharaohs. Some of the wall paintings appear unfinished, as if the artists simply dropped their brushes and fled. The massive stone sarcophagus is chipped at the corners, like workers had to break pieces off in a panic just to force it into the chamber. And then researchers noticed something else. Many of the treasures inside weren't made for Tut at all. Statues with faces that looked nothing like him. Jewelry clearly designed for a woman's body. Coffins where original names had been hastily scraped away and crudely replaced. So scientists went back and studied the mask again. Really studied it. And that's when the detail no one could ignore anymore stood out. The ears were pierced. In ancient Egypt, that was a serious problem. Only children and women wore earrings. An adult male pharaoh, especially on a sacred burial mask, would never be shown with pierced ears, not under any circumstances. Yet there they were, 2 pierced ears, even shaped differently, a detail that should not exist unless this mask was never meant for King Tut in the first place. It broke every rule they believed about kingship and the afterlife. Researchers began noticing other unsettling details. The face itself seemed off, too refined, too delicate, almost feminine. And the gold covering the face carried a slightly different tone than the rest of the headdress, a faint reddish hue that shouldn't exist if the entire mask had been made at the same time. Slowly, an unsettling idea took shape. What if, when Tutankhamun died so suddenly, there was no mask prepared for him at all? What if the priests, racing against the unbreakable 70-day deadline, took a mask meant for someone else, altered it just enough to pass inspection, and placed it over the boy king's mummy? That possibility opened a question that would haunt Egyptologists for decades. Whose face was this mask originally created for? The answer came quickly, almost too quickly, and it pointed straight to the most controversial and dangerous woman in ancient Egyptian history, the queen who vanished without a trace. Her name was Nefertiti. You already know her face, the famous painted bust, the long, elegant neck, the calm, knowing smile. She was Tutankhamun's stepmother, the wife of the so-called heretic pharaoh Akhenaten. And after her husband died, she may have done something truly unprecedented. Some scholars now believe the throne may not have passed to a man at all. Instead, Nefertiti may have taken power herself, ruling Egypt as pharaoh under a new name. Then, suddenly, she vanished. Her tomb has never been discovered. Her mummy has never been identified. It's as if she was deliberately erased from history. That's what made researchers uneasy. If Nefertiti died before Tutankhamun, if she already had a burial mask prepared, and if Tut died unexpectedly with nothing ready, then everything lined up perfectly. The pierced ears made sense. The feminine facial features made sense. The rushed alterations made sense. But proving it? That was the problem. To confirm the theory, scientists would have to look inside the mask, and that meant damaging one of the most priceless artifacts on Earth. No one was ever going to allow that. So for decades, the Nefertiti theory stayed exactly what it was, quietly discussed at conferences, dismissed by the establishment, and officially impossible to prove. Until 2014. That's when the unthinkable happened. The mask was damaged. And that single accident would eventually reveal everything. Then came the accident that changed everything. The story exploded across international headlines. During what was supposed to be a routine cleaning at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, a museum worker accidentally struck the mask. The long braided beard, an ancient symbol of divine kingship, snapped clean off. What happened next was almost worse than the damage itself. Instead of calling trained conservators, the staff panicked. In the chaos, they reached for the first adhesive they could find, industrial epoxy, the kind used for plumbing and car repairs. They slathered it on, pushed the beard back into place, and hoped no one would notice. Everyone noticed. Glue was visibly smeared across the golden chin. A treasure that had survived 3,300 years was now scarred by hardware store adhesive. The Egyptian government had no choice. They called in an international restoration team led by German conservator Christian Ekman. His task was simple: fix the beard properly. But Ekman realized something else. Before repairing anything, he had a rare opportunity to finally test the Nefertiti theory without damaging the mask. He ordered a full scan using X-ray fluorescence technology. His reasoning was straightforward. If the face had been taken from another mask and attached later, the scans would reveal it. Different gold compositions, solder seams, chemical traces of modification. His team spent months examining every millimeter of the mask, and the results appeared conclusive. The gold in the face matched the gold in the headdress perfectly. The hieroglyphs spelling Tutankhamun's name showed no signs of being carved over an earlier inscription. The delicate glass inlays around the eyes were completely intact, something that would have shattered instantly if the face had ever been reheated or soldered. That should have ended the debate. Case closed. The Nefertiti theory was declared dead. The mask was officially confirmed as 100% Tutankhamun's. Ekman's team carefully removed the epoxy and reattached the beard using beeswax, the same material the ancient Egyptians themselves would have used. But the story wasn't over yet. The mask was repaired and put back together, but the damage wasn't easy to hide. Photos soon appeared online showing a thin line of glue running along the chin. After a final round of restoration, the mask was returned to display. And just like that, the history books stayed unchanged. But not everyone was convinced. A small group of scientists quietly pushed back. They argued that Ekman's tests had a serious limitation. X-ray scans can reveal differences in density. They can expose cracks, fractures, and solder seams. But what if the ancient craftsmen had anticipated that? What if they were clever enough to hide the truth in a way X-rays simply couldn't see? That question refused to go away. What if the craftsmen used gold from the exact same batch to fill the pierced ears? What if they carefully hammered the original name completely flat before carving a new one over it? What if a new face was attached so perfectly that the seam was only a few atoms wide? X-rays would never catch it. They can show density, but they can't read the story inside the metal. They can't tell the difference between gold poured once and gold that was reheated, reshaped, hammered, and reused. To uncover that kind of truth, you'd need something entirely different, a technology capable of reading the thermal memory of atoms themselves. And by 2024, that technology finally existed, the scan that would change history. Dr. Helena Voss is a materials physicist at the Max Planck Institute in Munich. Her specialty is quantum resonance imaging, a technology so advanced that until recently it existed almost entirely inside classified research labs. In late 2024, her team received rare permission from the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities to conduct a non-invasive scan of Tutankhamun's mask. Officially, the project was described as a simple calibration test, proof that the equipment could function accurately on ancient gold. No one involved expected to find anything that previous investigations had missed. The scan was carried out after the Grand Egyptian Museum closed for the night. Later, Dr. Voss described the scene to colleagues. The scanner emitted a low hum. The mask lay perfectly still beneath the beam. Streams of data flowed across laptop screens in real time. For hours, the results confirmed everything scholars already believed. Then the scanner reached the cartouche, the oval frame containing Tutankhamun's name. Dr. Ahmed Hassan, an Egyptologist from Cairo University who was present that night, said the room went completely silent. On the screen, beneath the visible hieroglyphs, the quantum imager revealed something else, something that shouldn't exist. a distinct pattern of atomic displacement showing that the gold in that precise area had been hammered, scraped, and reworked in a way found nowhere else on the mask. Dr. Voss asked the technician to run the scan again. Same result. She ordered a full recalibration. Same result. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a metallurgist from Kyoto University who was monitoring the data remotely, later said she struggled to even comprehend what she was seeing. The data was clear. There was no ambiguity. Something had been altered, and the atoms themselves were remembering it. Someone had hammered the original hieroglyphs flat, erasing them completely, and then carved new ones over the top. But that wasn't the most disturbing discovery. Not even close. This was the ghost beneath the gold. The team ran a full structural analysis, and what they uncovered shattered more than a century of assumptions. First, the ears. Standard X-rays showed nothing unusual. Solid gold. Perfectly normal. But the quantum scan told a different story. Inside the ears were two perfectly shaped cylindrical plugs. Someone had filled the original pierced holes with rods made from the exact same gold alloy, then hammered and polished them until the seams became invisible to every scanning method that existed before 2024. The ears hadn't always been solid. They had been deliberately sealed, which meant the mask was originally made for someone who wore earrings. Then came the face. The quantum imager detected what Dr. Voss described as thermal ghosting along the entire edge where the face meets the headdress. This wasn't damage, it was a molecular fingerprint. Proof that the gold along that precise outline had been superheated to a different temperature than the surrounding metal. In other words, the face and the headdress were not treated as one piece. They had been worked separately, then joined. And the atoms were still remembering it. This was supposed to be the only fully intact royal burial ever discovered in the Valley of the Kings. The ancient craftsmen hadn't attached the face from the front. That would have shattered the delicate glass inlays. Instead, they worked from behind using intense controlled heat and pressure. The visible surface remained flawless. No cracks, no seams, nothing X-rays could detect. But the atoms remembered. They remembered that the face had been cut away and replaced. The room stayed silent for a long time. Finally, Dr. Hassan spoke. He asked the question everyone was thinking. Could the scanner recover what had been erased? Dr. Voss answered quietly, yes. By mapping the microscopic traces left by the original hammering, the faint molecular echoes of the first inscription, the system could digitally reconstruct what had once been carved there. She started the program. The reconstruction took 11 minutes. Slowly, the original hieroglyphs began to appear on the screen. Dr. Tanaka, watching remotely from Kyoto, later said no one even breathed. One symbol emerged, then another, then another. It was not Tutankhamun. The name revealed was Nefertiti, the throne name many historians believe Nefertiti used when she ruled Egypt as pharaoh. The cover-up was exposed. The quantum scan told the full story. When King Tut died suddenly, there was no burial mask prepared for him. His powerful successor, likely I, had already claimed Tut's planned grand tomb for himself. The priests were trapped. They had 70 days. No mask, no time, no alternatives. So they took one that already existed and rewrote history in gold. So they turned to the tomb of the previous ruler, Nefertiti. They took her burial mask and set to work. They sealed her pierced ears using gold from the same batch, hammering and polishing until no seam could be detected. They commissioned a new face shaped to resemble the boy king. From behind, they carefully removed Nefertiti's face and attached Tutankhamun's using techniques so advanced that the joint remained invisible for more than 3,000 years. Then they erased her name, hammering it flat, and carved his in its place. They buried their king wearing a stolen face, and they buried the truth along with him. Today, the mask rests in the Grand Egyptian Museum. Millions of visitors stand before it every year, believing they are looking at the face of Tutankhamun. But beneath that flawless gold surface lies something else. The ghost of a vanished queen, hidden for 3,300 years. Revealed only by a technology capable of reading the memory of atoms themselves. The findings have not yet been officially published. Verification is still underway. And for many, everything is at stake. But the data is out there now, and it raises questions that refuse to fade. If the mask was taken from Nefertiti's tomb, what else in that burial chamber doesn't truly belong to Tutankhamun? How many of the boy king's treasures were pulled from other tombs during that same desperate 70-day race against time? And the biggest question of all, where is Nefertiti's real burial mask? The one made specifically for her, the one bearing her true face. Because if her mask was taken and placed on Tut, then whose mask was placed on her? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more hidden history and secrets they don't want you to know, make sure to like and subscribe.